The best bits of Joy Drive. Theatre, film, TV and more. Suzy Wrong reviews it all on Joy Drive with Em and Warren.
Suzy Wrong, how are you? Good
I just
afternoon.
know I'm going to have a great day when I'm here to talk with Warren about religion.
Oh.
It's like one of your most trigger point subjects.
Oh, you've been looking forward to it, haven't you?
I certainly have.
And we are, of course, today talking about 2 episodes of Compass, which is on ABC TV or iView. And the 2 episodes are The Love of My Life and Peacock Mormons. Now, if you got a chance to watch it, you can give us a call, 1300 569 949, or text us 0427 569 949, because we would love you to join in the conversation. Now, Suzy, tell us about the episodes.
Compass on your ABC TV has been exploring issues around religion, spirituality and ethics since 1984. Now in its 37th season, Compass continues to lead discussions on pertinent topics. It has grown increasingly diverse through the years in its coverage, and as a TV program is at its best when dealing with controversial matters. Over the last 2 weeks, we were treated with consecutive episodes that place focus on the LGBTQ community. First, we take a look at some of the individuals marching together as an 80-strong contingent named Peacock Mormons at this year's Mardi Gras parade. Some of them are still holding on to their faith, some of them have left their gods behind, but they all have powerful stories to share about their difficult relationships with their respective religions. The second story offers a glimpse into Gail and Lisette's life in Adelaide as, quote, the trans lipstick lesbian power couple. So here we have 2 mature trans ladies deeply in love, both emerging from challenging lives, having spent decades in the closet, unable to be their authentic selves. Now it appears not only have they assumed their true identities, they have found love in someone who has shared common experiences that allow for a connection that is so obviously deep and strong. We watch Gail and Lisette on the journey towards marriage, determined to have their marriage certificate declare both as women. We learn that this requires a lot of jumping through hoops involving bureaucratic processes that are frankly absurd. Both episodes are sensitively produced. I think they speak persuasively to viewers of a program whom I believe to have generous, open hearts. Even though its focus is mainly on religion, Compass has never kept to a conservative agenda for as far as I remember. Warren, have you had a relationship with this long-standing ABC program?
Do you know, I used to watch it, and then there were a couple of episodes I didn't like, so I sort of lost touch with it. But I have to say, I really enjoyed watching these 2 and reconnecting with it, and I love Indira Naidoo as the new host of Compass. I think she's fantastic. But let's start with The Love of My Life. Great episode and a great love story. Really good to see. A little bit shocking, to hear that, I suppose most of us, a lot of us bullied later on in primary school, but they were bullied the first week of primary school. And I thought, wow, that is horrible. It's your first introduction to school and you're already being rejected. And then at the end, you see, the thrill of them going out in their clothes where they can be them for the first time. And you think, oh, this is great, really good. You feel their excitement. And then, of course, they get abused at the supermarket just for buying food to live and eat. Shocking.
Yeah, it's difficult stuff. It reminds me, I recently had a chat with a friend who does psychotherapy, and she was doing some research for a PhD, and she reminded me of how when I was growing up, I was literally maybe 4 years old or something, and I was at home and my parents had to teach me how to walk across the floor, that sort of thing. It happens to people who are trans a lot because for many of us, there is just a visible difference that people find really uncomfortable. And it's good to see that the world is changing a little bit, that Gail and Lisette are coming out in quite a powerful way. And, I know we have had this discussion about bravery and courage, and it's hard to say that, I feel brave being who I am, but when I'm watching them, I do think, oh yeah, actually, it does take a lot of bravery to be trans, especially in the current climate. The last couple of weeks have been a bit insane.
Well, I thought it was, rather ironic that we are watching this show given those horrific protests that we've seen with that trans activist touring Australia and New Zealand. And, it just made this whole experience of Lisette and Gail even, far worse. But I do love the title, Trans Lipstick Lesbian Power Couple. I mean, that is just embracing everything, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like they have reached a state of maturity. I think one of them is 60. I think Gail is 60 and the other is slightly younger. And it's good to see them kind of finally at a stage where, they always say older people just don't give an F. And it was good to see them live life with a lot of that abandon finally. And then to be able to hear them, the histories and how it was hard for them for many, many decades. And now just kind of letting it all hang out. It was great. And talking about letting all hang out, watching them in, a little bit of nudity was I thought, completely surprising for me that they just didn't have a guard up. And also that scene of, I think it was Gail shaving her face. I just thought, it's for me, it's so uncomfortable to watch because of who I am. Like I feel like those things are meant to be secret, but I feel like, wow, it's so great to just kind of let it be. This is the truth. This is honest. And we are not here to dish up something palatable and easy because our lives are not easy. And, you should see it and understand what our lives are like.
And I found that too. I found like it was almost like all the facades just came down, all the guards just came down, and it was, you are seeing us, we are a couple, we are in love, just take it, or leave it. There's nothing to hide, and we're proud of who we are. And I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that the Compass program has quite a bit of a mature viewership, if I'm not wrong. And it was really important, I think, for a more mature crowd to listen to this story on such an intimate level in the middle of all these arguments that are swirling around and making people take a stand about, are you pro or are you against? It's a really hard thing because I think essentially for most people, they don't have to take a pro or against stance because it has no bearing on their lives.
No.
Like whatever Gail and Lisette are getting up to, whether you find it uncomfortable or whether you love it, it has nothing to do with you.
Exactly.
So so on one hand, it's good to kind of be reminded that, it has nothing to do with me. But on the other hand, it was good that it's showing life very authentically to people that are just trying to live their lives and not causing any harm to absolutely anyone.
Yeah, that's exactly right. No harm whatsoever. Peacock Mormons, Suzy, the second episode that we watched, I loved it. I really did. I felt like, and I think it was sort of summed up at the end, I felt like all these different people coming from all different religions. And, of course, there was the Church of Mormons was the predominant makeup of the group. But there was, we had the Muslim person in there as well and several others. We had atheists in there. And I don't know, as I was watching, I was thinking all these people are coming in because their churches have rejected them or won't let them go onto the premises, all these sorts of things. And it was almost as though it's like a church in itself that is a mashup of all these different religions because all these people can come to this one group and be themselves and celebrate their spirituality without all the rubbish that the rest of the churches impose on them.
Yeah, I think a big thing about religion, why people hold onto it so firmly, is sort of the communion, isn't it? That the community and that sort of friendships that come out of those connections. And it's good to see that these people were able to connect on that level. I found it challenging to, first of all, hear the quite horrible stories that they have encountered, especially horrible when they're telling it and being quite matter-of-fact about it. There was this woman especially who kind of kept saying, but when you're used to being interrogated by your church, yeah, she was telling us these things that were just terrible, but she kind of felt like, it's part of my life. I've grown up this way, and I can understand how you might think of it as being quite horrible, but it was so normalized for me, and it was really confronting.
I found that confronting too, and especially because Kyria said that, even though these people weren't accepting of her and they made her life difficult, she also said, an amazing thing to say, she said everyone in the church had genuine love in their hearts for her. So she said that, she's experienced homophobic hatred, and we've all experienced that homophobic hatred, I guess. But she said, I never got that in the church. They just didn't accept her and they thought something was wrong with her, but they loved her and wanted her to be right, of course, which we know doesn't happen like that.
Well, they love her, but they wanted to send her to conversion therapy.
Yeah.
Right, which she kind of said it in a very flippant way, saying, oh, but I just ignored them. And I think for you and I and people who have, left that any kind of religion behind us, a long time ago, to see that it's a challenging thing. I do admire that they have been able to make compromises, adjustments, so that they have some level of religiosity in their lives, so that they have the connections, and say that they're not completely without spirituality and faith. I think that's lovely. And, I think I've said this on this program before, it is difficult to tell religious people to give up their religion, because I think about that as when they tell me to, just give up your idea about your gender identity. I feel like there is a weird parallel there. And I feel like, actually what they're showing is a lot of grace. And I think that's the thing about Compass, isn't it? It's about finding grace in really difficult circumstances.
And I mean, the commonality that I picked up was all of them had been told that something's wrong with you, and you essentially should be completely ashamed of yourself. And I suppose I think Ramtin, the Muslim from Iran, said religion was a protection layer to hide himself. So not only just hiding himself in society over there, but using religion as an extra mask to hide behind. And yet that mask is also telling you there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, it's all very complicated. There are many, many layers to this onion. But one thing good, though, is to see them sometimes trying to make changes at their church. They're kind of agitating a little bit and doing some slightly political things to try to cause change at their churches. And that's good to see, too.
Absolutely. Having said that, I mean, I feel like we're a pendulum swaying, because, I think one of the most upsetting things to see on it, well, for me anyway, was with the two drag queens, and, one of them was abused at school. And the most hurtful thing, of course, was that because of the power of the church and the religion that they belong to, the mother took the side of the church and didn't believe, her kid. And I thought, wow, that's a horrible thing to deal with.
It is so incredibly poignant to see elderly men cry, talking about things that happened in their childhood. It just shows how deep these cuts are. We can do so much work to move on from those harmful experiences and try to carve lives for ourselves as grown-ups and as we, go into our older age. But to see how deep those things still affect us as queer people, it's just so important to understand what these effects are on children.
And, as you're right, I love the fact that Compass has dealt with this. It's given it to us raw, all the emotions, all the experiences, and I think it's well worth watching. We're talking about Compass on ABC iView with Suzy Wrong. 2 episodes, Peacock Mormons and The Love of My Life. You can catch them on iView now. Suzy, what are we going to talk about next week?
Knock at the Cabin is M. Night Shyamalan's latest feature film based on a horror novel involving a gay male couple and their young daughter under siege in the woods. You can hire it on demand from platforms like YouTube, Apple, Google, and Amazon. Knock at the Cabin.
Knock at the Cabin. Thanks, Suzy.
Thank you, and I'll see you next Tuesday.
See you then. That's Suzy Wrong on Joy Drive.
Joy Drive on Joy 94.9 FM in Melbourne, Joy on your digital radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn.com or the Joy app. No matter where you are, you can always take Joy Drive with you.